K24 TV. Now, you're just in time for what is making headlines in the local dailies on this 19th day of November 2024. And joining me to, of course, dissect what is making headlines in the local dailies is Honorable Karen Nyamu. A very good morning to you. A
very good morning to you. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you this morning. Thank you very much for making time.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, fair enough. Just beg to begin with the Daily Nation. And the big headline of the Daily Nation is Ruto's major purge of Gachagwa's allies. They say the shake-up scheduled for this week affects 14 members of parliament serving in influential National Assembly committee leadership positions who are viewed as sympathetic to ousted DP Rigathi Gachagua. The changes are also informed by other current political developments, including the co-option of Raila Odinga's party members to cabinet. Now, there's been the talk of the looming purge of members of parliament who voted against Gachagwa's impeachment, and even those who skipped that particular vote. And the nation has listed several members. One is Ndindi Nyoro, who chairs the Budget and Appropriations Committee, Gathoni Wamushomba, James Gakuya, Vincent Musau, Nimrod Mbai, Wanjiku Muiha, Kareke Mbiuki, and Housing Chairperson, that is Joanna Ngeno. I don't know, what do you make of this particular purge? From where you sit, do you think it is the right way to go in terms of ensuring that party members are, toe the party line and go as the directive of the party?
Political parties are kind of a membership where you are bound by certain rules, and you're a team, basically. You're working towards one goal. So the minute there is the party position which other members choose to ignore and champion a divergent view or a divergent position, then that is clear. It's a clear divergence from what the party envisages. And I think it is not a new practice where when party members go against the party positions, they are made to leave certain positions, because how can you lead in positions of a party where in the first place you don't believe in the directions they're taking? How will you implement, for example, the government proposals in parliament if you do not believe in them in the first place? So I think it is necessary, and the people who did not follow the party position, for example, know the consequences. They anticipate the consequences. So I don't think they are surprised. I think it is the choice they made, and they probably are prepared for it, for the purge.
Fair enough. Now I'm also joined by Honorable Kassim Tandaza, the Member of Parliament for Matuga constituency. Very good morning to you, sir.
Morning, and warm morning also outside there.
Thank you very much for making time to be with us this particular morning. Now, Honorable Tandaza, we are talking about the looming purge. They say this particular week, those allied to Rigathi Gachagua who are holding positions in the National Assembly committee positions are likely to be de-whipped following their stance on the impeachment of ousted Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Now, like Honorable Karen Nyamu puts it, it's a matter of what the party, directs, and you ensuring that you abide by what the party says. But some would argue, I mean, what happened to what we refer to, as someone's freedom of, expression, expressing your own views, regardless of what the party says? Is it, from where you sit, do you think it is, the right move to de-whip these members from these committee chairmanship positions? Because one of the people who skipped even the voting is Kiaru MP Ndindi Nyoro, who chairs the Budget and Appropriations Committee, and is one of those who are set to lose their positions as, committee chairpersons. What is your stance in regards to this particular purge?
Thank you. I think the viewers have the right to know that as a member of parliament, I'm voted by the people to represent them, to do my core functions, which are legislation, oversight, and representation at the National Assembly. That contract stands for 5 years. Of course, there is the option of them recalling me if they so wish, depending on the circumstances. Beyond that, the other positions in Parliament are positions of privilege from the party. This is what should be very clear. I was elected as a member of parliament of Matuga, and I'll be a member of parliament. I'm the vice chairman of a committee, the NGCDF. That is a position of privilege given by the party to me. It was not given by the people of Matuga. This is something should be very clear. But it should also be very clear that each member of parliament, and I'm talking of parliament, either in the National Assembly or in the Senate, is entitled to be a member of a committee. That one is in the standing orders again. So when it comes to the leadership of a committee, that is a privilege from the party. But you are entitled to be a member of a committee, and I don't think any member, as it stands, either in the National Assembly or in the Senate, one is not a member of a committee, unless one so wishes. There is also a possibility that you can be assigned a committee, and then you say, I don't wish to be in that committee. I know I think of one member, especially from the coast, but it was out of his own volition. And he did not break any standing order. He did not break any trust with his people, because, as I put it clearly, when you're elected by your people, and for another case now for our senator here, who is even nominated, her position is even more privileged. Even the nomination itself is a privilege from the party, unlike me, who is elected, and then maybe now I get a privilege from the party. So this is a very normal procedure, and nobody should make any hulabaloo about it or say I've been removed from this position, because essentially it was not an entitlement. Yeah, this will be very clear to our viewers.
Fair enough. Now, coming back to you, Honorable Nyamu, I don't know, are you likely to be a beneficiary of that particular purge in the Senate? But away from that, now, there's the issue of, you know, it's on the front page of this Standard, the issue of, you know, Kenyans who are stranded in Lebanon, because there has been an ongoing very, very difficult situation in that particular part of the globe, and some Kenyans are still stranded. Now, I don't know where that leaves us, because even as some Kenyans are stranded in Lebanon, at the moment we are also looking at exporting more labor to various countries. As a country, do you feel the government, from where you sit, has done justice to those who are probably stranded in Lebanon? Because there was a concern, because some of those who are in Lebanon probably did not go to Lebanon using the right procedure, the right process. But at the end of the day, they are looking at the government to rescue them. So I don't know what you make of that particular situation.
Well, the government has a responsibility of its citizens everywhere in the world. And that is why we have an embassy for the relations of the Kenyan citizens in that particular country. It is a responsibility of the government to rescue Kenyans, regardless of their status in that country. Because we know human rights supersedes any other rules. And so it is up to the embassy to make sure that they organize the Kenyans who are in distress in that country, and to have systems whenever such things occur. I have been to Saudi Arabia, for example. And what is glaring is the lack of systems in our embassies to be responsive to the issues that the citizens in those particular countries are going through. We see that our citizens are so tied by the laws of that particular country that don't favor them, and oftentimes don't favor them, while we can negotiate bilateral rules that apply when it's time for crisis, like at this particular time, for Israel bombings. They need to be evacuated, and we need to have our Kenyans back home. And I'm sure the ministry is working on it, the Ministry for Foreign Affairs. Now,
Honorable Shandaza, many would probably be looking at not only the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but also where should our focus be at the moment? Because many people are talking about the focus, because the Labour CS, Alfred Mutu, yesterday issued a press conference in regards to job opportunities in other parts of the globe. But Kenyans are concerned because they feel like the priority at the moment should be ensuring that all Kenyans who are stranded in Lebanon are first of all evacuated and brought back into the country, and ensure that everything is well taken care of in terms of Kenyans who are stranded there. Their safeties are prioritized, and then now we can talk about exporting more labor, probably looking for opportunities for Kenyans in other parts of the globe. Do you feel we've prioritized exportation of labor at this particular moment in time, instead of ensuring that we are evacuating those who are stranded in war-torn countries?
Well, evacuation, yes. Safety of Kenyans, yes, a priority, and I believe the CS and the government at large, no responsible government, and ours being a responsible government, certainly cannot just let Kenyans suffer. It's not a question of Kenyans. Even one Kenyan outside there suffering is actually an issue. It's too much for the country. But what I can also tell you is that with or without the CS talking about exportation of labor, there have been so many Kenyans outside there working on their own. In fact, if the statistics are to be put right, I know that there are more Kenyans who have gone working outside this country on their own, apart from the government initiative. So we've had Kenyans all over the globe, different expertise, different jobs, apart from to me, it's a thorn on the flesh, the issue of domestic workers, especially in the Middle East. That one is a different issue, where you have unlicensed agents, people trying to go left and right, being mistreated and not being documented. Like now, the other day we were talking about the Kenyans in US, illegal immigrants who had to be deported, and it was also an issue, and they went there on their own. They were not taken there by the government. They are illegal. They are not able to make their paperwork ready, and it still becomes a problem to the country. So for the minister, for the CS, of course, I know, and this is not the first time. Just recently, we had an issue in Sudan, and we had so many of our students in Sudan when war broke up there. The government has always come on top. But of course, there are procedures. Even to evacuate somebody, you need the safety procedures to evacuate. Otherwise, you can endanger a person in the process of evacuation. And I think this is what the CS is trying to do, so that he does it rightly, doesn't again come on to those who want to be evacuated.
Pretty much. Now, we're also joined by Honorable Peter Orero, the MP for Kibra. Very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me to this show.
How are the people of Kibra?
We always say to Kogangari, they are always ready.
Honorable Karejam would actually relate to that, herself being a Nairobian. But let me just rope you in, because there's the issue of Kenyans who are stranded in Lebanon. Now, on October 31st, the PS for Internal Security, that is Raymond Omolo, did say the country needs around 2 billion to airlift 7,200 Kenyans caught up in the war-torn Lebanon. Now, the biggest concern has been, and Honorable Tandaza has talked about it, most of them probably ended up there, and even P.S. Omulo talked about it, by not following the right process. What do you think needs to be done to counter the issue of, Kenyans finding themselves in such countries, and probably they went there through rogue agents who now, probably dumped them there? What do you think the government needs to do to sort out that particular mess? Because it is a very, very concerning issue.
Of course, we need to look at the background of this, why these people ended up in these countries through other means and not the official channel. It's because the job opportunity in this country has really degenerated. We do not have job opportunities. We have a youth badge. And therefore, in the recent past, the government has put certain strategies and saying that they want to export labor outside this country. And before this, I think most Kenyans was frustrated. And you can imagine if you have educated your kid, you are staying with that kid for more than 10 years, not even educated, even others who should do other kind of jobs, and they cannot get that job within this country. So most people have, for themselves, looked at opportunities, irrespective of the kind of countries that they land. We have seen in Arabia, we have seen in other countries where our girls have been lured to go there and only end up into the streets to do prostitution. I read a story yesterday about a certain girl. So Lebanon is not an exceptional. People got there in search of greener pastures. It is high time now that the government put in place the proper mechanisms that anybody living in this country to go and look for a job, unless otherwise stated, should use proper channels. But this really does not deter the government from taking and having pragmatic steps to ensure that Kenyans who are outside there are safe. And if they are not safe, it is a priority of this country to ensure that a single life is saved. There are other countries that if a single person is killed, it's like a whole generation has been killed. Even the Israelis, if you kill one of their own, they will always want to revenge because they are very few for one, and they really protect the sanctity of life. Okay. So I believe that this country must ensure that the lives of Kenyans are safe, and if whatever it takes to rescue that bigger number of people, over 7,000, you can imagine, that is a whole village if you were to talk about villages. So I believe that Kenya will do the right thing and ensure that our countrymen are brought back safe in this country.
Fair enough.
I don't think we should isolate a case, in the case of the bombings in Israel, to now demonize export of labor in other countries and to cite it as a reason why we shouldn't promote the export of labor to other countries, because we know that we are not able to employ every young person in this country, and it is not, the government is not forcing any young person to go out there and work abroad. It is actually the young people who yearn to go and work there. So we have seen the government efforts, and it is creating an impact in the lives of the young people. 105,000 youth already have benefited from this program of labor export. We have bilateral negotiations at their last stages with countries that we don't have a history of exporting labor to. We have Lebanon, we have Russia, you know, countries that we have never had bilateral agreements to, that the intakes are actually ongoing since yesterday at the county levels, and we should encourage this because...
Now, Honorable Nyamo, of course it's true that the government has not forced anybody to apply for these jobs abroad, or, go seek employment in other countries across the globe. But some would argue the situation in the country has forced those Kenyans to try and seek, employment opportunities elsewhere, because there are questions over the employment opportunities created so far by the Kenya Kwanza administration.
Actually, there are efforts that the government has made to make sure that the youth are being absorbed in jobs. We have the affordable housing, for example, that has absorbed 250,000 youth who are working in the sites. There are like 230,000 housing units undergoing active construction as we speak. We have the Kazi Mtaani, that is environmental angled, that 20,000 Nairobi youth, Nairobians they are lucky to be the first ones to be absorbed in this program. 20,000 of them just the other day. The government is targeting 200,000 of youth to be absorbed in this way. We have the IT sector, where the government is really revamping the infrastructure to make sure that our young people who are so into tech are getting platforms to explore. And you know of how the youth, even in the mashinani, the remotest of places, Kaptengele, for example, where the president was the other day, last year, when he was talking about Kufinya computer to a dollar, which people are making fun of, but it is changing stories. There are so many success stories in the mashinani of these young people working for countries abroad, just using their laptop, and this infrastructure has been provided for free by the government. The hubs, at the ward level, that is a game changer on the ground.
Well, the issue of Kufinya computer and kupata dollar raised a lot of concerns, because Kenyans feel like that is just a wild goose chase, and there's nobody who's pressing.
Not everyone. I mean, if I talk about labor export, not everyone is interested in that sector, for example.
But the biggest question is, what has the government done to create? Not just, you've talked about Kazi Mtaani, you've talked about the housing program, the affordable housing program. What about, every day we churn out thousands of graduates here in the country. I mean, as a graduate, you are not looking at, getting out of school to go and probably do Kazi Mtaani, and all that.
How many graduates do we have in the country, for example? A lot of people are ignorant of the fact that there are so many uneducated youth. In Nairobi, for example, we had made, the county government had announced to to absorb 6,000 youth, and the basic qualification was a Form 4 certificate. He will tell you a lot of his constituents don't even have a Form 4 certificate. And so those are the people who are very excited for those opportunities. Don't think about the graduates only. Another effort that the government has done to make sure that the young people...
I hope it's just an example, not really exactly by constituencies.
No, because you relate. You're from Nairobi, you relate to the kind of youth we are talking about in Nairobi.
Fair enough.
I would just want to say that the number of graduates who do not have jobs in this country is quite amazing. I'm in education committee. The last time we advertised for 20,000 jobs, 314 teachers applied for only 20,000 jobs. And when we looked at how many of the graduates are still outside who are qualified as educationists, over 400,000. And that is only one aspect in this country. That is just one sector of the graduates who are outside and have not been employed. When intern jobs were recently advertised, you find thousands of teachers apply for those jobs. We must really have a balancing act. We must have those who have higher grades and those who have maybe not gone to school. The kind of work that is done in housing a project is for those who really are not technically superior, those who have not really gone to higher levels of education. But we must consider middle-level education, we must consider higher level of education.
From where you sit.
And we must consider those who have not gotten a good education. So we need to create jobs in all aspects. One thing that is important is about the industries in this country. We have had industries employing quite a number of people, but in the recent past, you realize that the environment has not been very conducive to most of our local industries. So we need to have a comprehensive way of looking at the creating of job opportunities in this country.
Before engage on Honorable Chandaza, do you think the government has, let me just ask Honorable Chandaza, do you think the government has done enough to create employment opportunities? Because we release almost over 50,000 graduates every year.
Well, in these circumstances, it has done the best that it can. You know, these are hard times everywhere. And issues of unemployment is not just is just not a Kenyan phenomenon. But there is also one thing I want to put clear from my Honorable Orero, and this is in the minds of many Kenyans, that when we talk about housing in the Kenya Kwanza government, we are talking about the unskilled labor. I'm a civil engineer myself, you see. And when you talk about housing, you are talking about architects, you are talking about engineers, you are talking about electrical engineers, you are talking about electromechanical engineers. You know, we are putting high-rise buildings. When it's a 9th floor, you need lifts. So it's a whole system. It's not just about the person with a djembe or with a mwiko down there that is targeted. And this is the problem. Everybody thinks that housing is meant for...
That is what we want, the skilled laborers and the unskilled. And look at the ratio.
I agree with him. When you look at the ratio, it applies everywhere. The ratio is always a pyramid. Those skilled are normally very few. The unskilled are normally many. It is normally a pyramid, even when it goes to economics. Those who are rich are very few, and then it goes down like that. But it takes care of everybody. When you just even look at that sector alone, there are QSs and everybody is involved there. Ultimately,
how many Kenyans who have skilled labor have been employed through the housing program?
I might not have the figures. I don't want to throw the figures around. But I'm telling you, in every site, be it in Webuye, be it in Matuga, be it in Nairobi, there is an engineer, there is a QS, there is an electromechanical.
What about the other professions?
You see. And then, when it comes to the housing units and the other programs that are going on, like now, when we are talking about the health sector, you see, because we are only concentrating about the housing unit. When we are talking about the health sector, then we are going to absorb, the government is there to absorb those in the medical field. So of course, they cannot be absorbed 100%. But remember also, when you go at the graduate level, and I think this is where most Kenyans have to come out from, it's not just about graduating and looking for unemployment. I think this is where, again, we get it wrong, that every graduate must be employed. That way, then we kill innovation, isn't it? And that is the way to go. there are so many graduates who will not even want to be employed. I can be on record that despite the fact that I graduated so many years ago as a civil engineer, I never went to formal employment, and I have no regrets about it. And to me, that is the way to go. So if we really bundle it out that every graduate must be employed, then we are also getting it wrong.
Okay, fair enough. Gentlemen, because of time, let's just take a brief breath and then we'll be back. Because of time, because there's a lot of issues that we're supposed to talk about, but at this particular moment in time, I just want us to take a brief breather, then we'll be back after this short commercial break. Don't go away.